In 1998, a nationwide public debate arose. Maybe anyone remember? It was then Elisabeth Ohlson Wallins photo exhibition was shown in the Cathedral of Uppsala. Ecce Homo, see the human. The photos showed interpretations of famous stories from the Bible, the proclamation, the baptism of Jesus, and the Last Supper in a modern environment, and Wallin had on purpose used homosexual models, not only, but also. The exhibition aroused terribly strong feelings. Some of them were very positive, of course, but most of them were negative. The photographer and the dean received hate letters and bomb and death threats. People also tried to throw stones at Elisabeth Ohlson Wallin. The purpose of the exhibition was to show the unconditional, all-embracing love of God. But unfortunately, Elisabeth Ohlson Wallin was no theologian and had not understood that love is just for normal, dressed, heterosexual people that behave, act, and look like one is supposed to do. Because men are supposed to be men, and women are supposed to be women, and they are supposed to love each other. But the Bible tells us that God created human, Adam, and God created the one who gives life, Eva. It seems like we are created to an entirety, not partition, namely to a human being with the ability to give life. And not just give life as reproduction, but life as compassion, respect, equality, acceptance of that what we are different from each other, and the protection of each and everyone's unique, inviolable value. The Bible also tells us that God loves this world so much that God gave us his own only Son, Jesus Christ. I think that we can understand that the size of that kind of love is not possible to really include or grasp. But that is still how much God loves this world. The unconditional, all-embracing love apparently applies for the whole world and everything and everyone in that world. Actually, that love runs like a red thread through everything that God does. Especially in today's gospel, that already from the start messes with our deep-rooted ideas. Here we meet Jairus, with high status and reputation, leader of the synagogue, who falls at Jesus' feet and pleads for help. And just when we have managed to digest this peculiar, unmanly behavior, a woman pushes forward from behind and touches Jesus. A woman that is possibly outside the social community, unclean because of her 12-year-old long bleeding, and who has lost everything. To bother and to touch a man like Jesus, who is in a hurry to save a girl from dying, is totally unacceptable, what she does. And yet he stops and he starts to talk to this woman who not at all sticks to the applicable rules and norms. And when she falls at Jesus' feet, scared and trembling, but finally, with a correct female behavior, Jesus sees her and says, "My daughter, your faith has saved you. You are free." The touch between them is the end of a social death and the start of participation in a life of community, God's community. But then comes the message so feared by Jairus. His daughter is dead. Do not bother the teacher anymore. Who says such a thing in this situation? Who should Jairus bother if not Jesus? Who should we bother when life falls apart in the deepest darkness if not God? To whom should we pave our way through the crowd when we're out of every option if not to God? And Jesus sees Jairus and says, "Do not be afraid, just believe." I don't know if Jairus could do that right then, but the call from Jesus is filled with trust and love. And once again, Jesus does the unexpected, almost the absurd. We have no idea what has happened to Jairus' daughter. We just know that something has made her resist taking part of life, something that has made her apathetic, silent, like dead. She's 12 years old and on her way of entering adulthood. It doesn't take so much of my imagination to think that she is old enough now to be married off, to be affected by what still in our time, right now, hits a girl every other second. Get married, child marriage, broken dreams of an education and the possibility to shape one's own future. The end of life as she has known it so far. We don't know, but I think Jesus knows, and that's enough. He takes the little girl's hand, and she raises from her bed and returns to life. Once again, a touch that gives life and participation in a community, God's community. And Jesus' demands not to tell and to give the girl something to eat is to me also words that breaks the norm to put the human being in the center. As long as the girl lay sick, she got to stay in her safe room, in her home, and continue to be a child. And I think that Jesus, with his words, wants to tell us that children are supposed to be children, reassured of safety, food, and loving care. For 1,000 years, Jesus has been portrayed as a man, of course. For 1,000 years, the Bible has been interpreted in an unequal, stereotype, and oppressive way. And then, when one person does another interpretation and puts Jesus also with people who apparently stands out, who can't be as visible or listened to in the same conditions as the majority, we can't stand it. Even though in the stories of the Bible we meet the unconditional, all-embracing love of God in Jesus over and over again. Jesus, who moves in all social strata, who visits different people regardless of their moral, status, profession, gender, or sexuality, who touches individuals that everyone else shuns, who allows himself to be bothered, and speaks to whomever seeks him, whether they follow deep-rooted rules or approaches. A Jesus, a God who loves and sees humans. Before and together with Jesus, norms and inherited patterns turns upside down and are no longer allowed to have any power over us. In the community of God, which is open to everyone, we cannot only be who we are, which in itself is a grace, but we are also unconditionally loved for being just who we are. God also touches you and me today, and in that touch, Jesus wants to release you from whatever holds you back and limits you to be who you are. That is what is so amazing with God, but also hard and difficult sometimes, depending on who we are as persons. But can we dare to believe in that gift? The one who is oppressed or afraid to show one's true self may instead be free and accepted. The one who is afraid of whatever breaks the norm and does not fit the stereotypes as one knows it may still be safe and feel at home. In the community of God, we meet beyond definitions, sex, and gender, and receives the courage and the love to do our task. See the human, and in different ways give each other life.